What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So one company that seems to keep having their reveals spoiled ahead of time by retailers is Ubisoft. It really does. Like, I feel like we find out about Assassin's Creed from like a t-shirt or something at a store before we hear about it from Ubisoft more times than not. And it looks like it's happened once again. This time, however, it's with Prince of Persia. We're gonna go over that today and even what we can expect from it, because it was kind of even confirmed online yesterday as well from another source. Also, we get to go back to that Xbox Series S, which seems like a system that basically has been announced, but Microsoft hasn't said anything necessarily about it, but we got more information on it, so I figured we go over it. We're still missing the biggest part though, which is the price. As always, guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. We are shooting for 500,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so if you're brand new, hit that subscribe button to help us get there. We are here every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, to go over all of the different news in the gaming space, and we're gonna start today with Gamescom. Did you forget the Gamescom's next week? Because I feel like a lot of people did. It's been all over the place, right? With this whole summer game fest thing. It's been everywhere, right? So at least we know, yes, there will be a Gamescom, and it does look like there will be at least a fair amount of reveals. It's kind of hard to say if there will be any like massive showstopper reveals, anything like that, but Jeff Keighley did tweet this out here just to get us prepared, saying, "What a crazy fun Gamescom opening night live we have coming together for you next week. Feels so good to be back producing a big live show. Cool set under construction now and lots to share in coming days on 2 hours of games for you next Thursday." Now, their partners slide that they have that shows all the different companies that will be participating shows like, of course, we see EA and Activision, and that is the day after Activision will reveal the new Call of Duty, which we're going to get to in a minute. So that could be there. That actually would make a lot of sense. EA might show like, I don't know, Madden or something. Yeah, it's hard to say with Gamescom. I don't get too hyped right now. My expectations are like basement level for any of these kind of events this year, specifically because of the, obviously all developer stuff been thrown through a loop with the COVID situation and remote work, but at least it's something that's next Thursday. Keep that in mind, about 2 hours of games, and we'll see if there's any big surprises there. Also, Microsoft did release a video and press release detailing the new UI that's going to launch alongside of the Xbox Series X, and technically it's more for their ecosystem overall rather than just the Series X, but it's going to tie everything together very nicely. Some of the images they showed off does look a lot sleeker, I guess we'd say, and there's gonna be animated backgrounds. That's pretty cool, right? Like, it really, I guess, depends on how customized it can be, right? And can you have themes around games or different genres and stuff? That would be pretty cool. It's something fun, I guess, for fans or anyone who likes to kind of change up their home screen. But the biggest part, for me anyway, is the overall speed that they're touting for this, saying things like, oh, launching into the store, which apparently has gotten a lot quicker. We'll see there, because the store is kind of all over the place at times when it comes to how fast it loads, but about 2 seconds to load that up, 50% faster to get to your home screen when you start the system up, 30% faster to quick resume. There's a lot of numbers being thrown around, and then of course it also goes back to velocity architecture that they're using with the Series X. So just the overall speed of these systems, just navigating, should increase heavily. That's with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, mostly because they're moving to SSDs, and then of course they're also focusing on it with different types of architecture and everything that they are touting right now. So at least from what we're hearing, it sounds good to be able to get to our games much faster. But there was a lot of info there, so go check it out if you're interested in what your Xbox Series X will look like when you turn it on. And for any Call of Duty fans out there, you won't have to wait too much longer to finally have the new Call of Duty revealed. I feel like we've been going on about this for a little while now, right? I think this game is going to launch at the end of October, and they're finally going to officially reveal it next week. Come down to the wire here, right? But they did release a video that got passed around the internet, and we did finally come up with the title that we were all expecting. It sounds weird, but here it is: Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, they did not want to get rid of that Black Ops title. It's good for marketing. I get it, right? It could have just been Call of Duty Cold War, but they want to throw Black Ops in there because, I mean, it helps sell, right? So why not? Now, the reveal itself will come next week on the 26th. Again, that's the day before we will see Gamescom, so it makes sense that they could announce it there and then show gameplay at Gamescom as they are a partner for that event. So there you go. Anyone who's been looking forward to the new Call of Duty, when are we going to see it? Look forward to it next week. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start today with Prince of Persia because it was leaked online by a retailer, Max.com, and this started to make the rounds, but it was pulled down after a little while. It's just gone now, and it does seem like that they posted it a little too early. Ubisoft, I assume, is going to have their other event that they've already kind of said they're going to do, not with a date or anything. I guess that's going to happen next month, and that's where they will be revealing Prince of Persia, although it was listed for the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch, so maybe they work that into a direct or something, or maybe they just drop it on Twitter, who knows. But you can see some of the listings here, and you can see some people managed to grab screenshots of the listings. For example, Ken says, Prince of Persia Remake listings have appeared online. For now, the game is listed for Nintendo Switch and PS4 with an estimated release date of November 2020. I'm not a big fan of leaning on the release dates that pop up next to these games, especially if they're leaked out accidentally, because sometimes it might be a placeholder date, might be a guess. At least it's not an exact date, I guess. It's just, November 2020? So I could see that. Let's say it gets announced next month and it comes out 2 months later as a 2D remake of the original Prince of Persia. Yeah, that would actually make sense. And that's kind of where I am now. It just says Prince of Persia Remake, right? So we don't really know what they're remaking necessarily. It could just be the original. Some people are wondering, is this that rumored Prince of Persia trilogy, the Sands of Time trilogy that we heard about earlier this year? I don't think so. Believe it or not, I think this is a 2D remake of the original Prince of Persia from the Apple II back in '89. It's very possible. It could be Prince of Persia 1 and then 2, because we did have Prince of Persia 2 on other platforms, which included the Super Nintendo. But I don't think this is the Sands of Time trilogy with Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones. And the reason I say that is because that would make me really happy, and Ubisoft likes to do the complete opposite and do things like put Sam Fisher in a cell phone game. So no, I don't really expect that. I would like that to become a reality eventually. However, I think Ubisoft is going to go back, grab the original one, and bring it up to modern times, and that could actually turn out to be pretty cool. It's at least different from what Ubisoft continues to do with their live service games. So yeah, I'm in for this. I would like to see what they can do with Prince of Persia. And if we want to go a little further with some of the confirmation, some more confidence around this, you can see Jason Schreier here. He went ahead and tweeted out, video game retailers sure love leaking Ubisoft's surprise announcements. Yes, it does look like we can look forward to Prince of Persia being revealed in the next few weeks, I guess. That is, if that November 2020 release is correct. I mean, this could just be a 2021 game, and that's just a guess, and it entered their system, and they were like, okay, November 2020, sure, why not? So, hey, look forward to that next Ubisoft event, even if they just reveal Prince of Persia. That's still better than the last one. Next up, let's talk about that Xbox Series S. Once again, still has not been officially revealed, but we're now getting CU counts for this thing. We're getting the frequency that the GPU is running at, and Microsoft still has not announced it. It's been all over the place. They were apparently supposed to have already revealed this thing a month or two ago. Yeah, it's all over the place, but here's what I was talking about before. You can see Tom Warren saying, so Tweaktown did a great overview of Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S specs. Here's one of the missing gaps. 20 CUs at 1.55 gigahertz. I believe the math comes out to 3.97 teraflops. It's basically 4 teraflops, yes. And this is going to be their 1080p, 1440p machine. Because their overall CU counts and all this is so low, I think this really is a $300 machine. Yeah, I think that's how they're going to market this. And I even thought about the idea of them pulling a controller out of it and just selling the box as a secondary system for another room. And they even get it down to $250 or something. There's a lot of things they can do here. I am just absolutely floored at just how much information around this system is getting out there without the system itself being announced. It's so weird to me. I mean, the only thing I'm really surprised about at this point, the next thing that could leak is the picture of it. And as far as we know, it's so small that the different people in R&D that are transporting it back and forth are apparently putting it in an Xbox Series S case. That was according to Thurrott Windows Central. So it's going to be a small little rectangle box, apparently. But yes, we have full spec sheets for this thing. It's going to be the budget model. It's going to be weaker, but it'll still probably upscale even to 4K. So it's a good entry point there. It's just weird to me that we're to this point where we have these spec sheets side by side, but we only know about one of the systems. The word is that Microsoft will probably reveal it starting at the beginning of next month, so probably in like 2 or 3 weeks, we'll finally hear about the Xbox Series S. Next up, let's talk about a big announcement that Nintendo made yesterday for any gamers in Brazil, because the biggest piece here that seemed to be news to a lot of people, and I guess it makes sense. If you don't live in Brazil, you probably wouldn't know this, but Nintendo wasn't technically distributing Switch systems in Brazil. They just weren't there. I believe they left the pull distribution during the Wii U era, and at that point, in order to get a Switch, you had to import it, and the amount of money it cost to import the Switch system itself was ridiculous. And then the games on top of that, it was a struggle for people in Brazil to be able to buy these systems and these games at any type of reasonable price. But check this tweet out here from Nintendo of America saying, "Greetings to all the Brazilian Nintendo fans out there. We are excited to announce that Nintendo Switch will be coming soon to Brazil." They say, "Stay tuned to these channels for more info." And this is good news. I almost wonder if they struck some sort of distribution deal within Brazil, and that's going to make it so that they don't necessarily have to import everyone. Maybe they'll even create them in Brazil. It's a whole situation there to get that figured out. But obviously, there are a lot of Switch fans, Nintendo fans in Brazil, because they even made like their own direct to try to catch the attention of Nintendo, and seems they did. This is really good news, though, for everyone there in Brazil who really wanted to be able to get a Switch without having to pay an arm and a leg for one. Now, we're still waiting for more information as to when all of this is going to happen, but the fact that it has been announced is good on its own, and we'll see, I guess, hopefully this year, early next year, when they really start pushing Switch systems out to Brazil, and you can get them at hopefully a much better price than it is now, and then the new releases and all of this. So good news there. It seems that unofficial direct really caught Nintendo's eye and worked, so good news. Oh, and if you do live in Brazil, let me know in the comments if you were really, really excited when you heard this, and let me know about any of the experiences you've had just trying to keep up with a lot of the releases for the Switch, because I was also told that there's like no eShop there, so Nintendo's gonna have to get that figured out too, right? If they're gonna start actually selling Switch systems in Brazil and distributing there, they gotta have an eShop, right? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Metroid Prime 4. This started to go around again because that same site that leaked out The Witcher 3 actually posted Metroid Prime 4. You know what? Anytime there's any little thing about Metroid Prime 4, it blows up online. I get a lot of messages about it, and a lot of times I'll look at it and say, no, that's probably not correct. Earlier this year, people were posting that, oh, it's coming out in December of 2020, and that's like, it's a placeholder date. So I figured I would just go over this very quickly. It is the same site that's been leaking games pretty recently, but again, I'm not 100% sold on some of these dates. You can see the listing here, and this was sent to me, like I said, about 20 times yesterday when it went up, Metroid Prime 4 Switch, and you can see it does have a release date, according to the site, October 30th, 2020. That's gonna be really tough for Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I don't know how they're gonna be able to do it with Metroid Prime 4 releasing next to it, and that means it's coming out in, wow, that's out in like 2 months or so. Yeah, Metroid Prime 4, I know people really want this game to be shown. They want a release date. They want to hear that it's coming out like tomorrow. I hate to say, Metroid Prime 4 is still gonna be, I'm telling you, a couple of years. It's gonna be a little bit. Like, unless something comes up that's like, oh, it's coming out early 2022 on a retailer site, which they would not know that anyway. Yeah, so unfortunately, I would be a bit patient with this one. Breath of the Wild 2 should come out before Metroid Prime 4. Bayonetta should come out before Metroid Prime 4. A lot of games are gonna come out before Metroid Prime 4. But we'll keep an eye on that. And who knows, maybe Nintendo wants to have a longer run-up for this if they're feeling confident in what Retro Studios is doing. That being, they could show us a cinematic trailer like a year and a half to 2 years before the game actually comes out. Or who knows, maybe they keep it quiet up until it's ready to come out that year. So unfortunately, retail listings, I wouldn't pay too much attention to them for Metroid Prime 4, especially when they start talking about release dates. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Habera saying, what games are there for the PS5 for launch besides Spider-Man? The whole time I thought Horizon Forbidden West was a launch title, but that one actually releases in 2021. If there are not many things besides that at launch, and if the PS5 costs much, I can see the Switch selling more than the PS5. And but I think it also depends if Nintendo releases something big besides Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So Nintendo should at least have that Mario 3D collection. That's the biggest rumor going around right now, and so many people are pointing towards it that I do believe that that is going to be a thing and that it could be coming out pretty soon, we'll say. But yes, that is a good point. We just saw, of course, another game get delayed out with Deathloop from the PlayStation 5 launch. They have Godfall, Spider-Man, and I'm sure there are a few others. I mean, like you'll see like Madden, Assassin's Creed, for example, and then several other games from third parties that will go to the PS5. And then, of course, Ghost of Tsushima should have backwards compatibility, Last of Us Part 2. There's also word that Last of Us Part 2 could have a multiplayer aspect that's there at launch. So it sounds like we'll still see something else from Sony to go alongside of Spider-Man for the PlayStation 5 launch. But you're right, because of the development issues that have been going on with COVID right now, the launch lineup for either system, the Series X and the PS5, aren't like crazy blow the doors off the place. But the Series X is definitely worse with Halo Infinite being pushed to next year. So it's really going to come down to if you want Spider-Man, which I do, and if you're interested in the Sony first-party lineup, which I am, so I'll be getting a PS5 on launch day. Otherwise, you're right, if it's $500, I can see some people saying, well, I'm not really into Spider-Man. Like, my system now plays the Call of Duty and the Madden that just came out. I'll give it a year and see what happens. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys. Hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether you are in Brazil and you're really excited to see Nintendo announce that the Switch will be coming to Brazil, let me know what you've been going through there to get the games imported and the system and all this. Very curious about those experiences. And what about Prince of Persia Remake? What do you think this is, right? And when do you think Ubisoft is going to announce it? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.